Ah, technology. A double-edged sword of our own making that can provide both ultimate convenience and the threat of a grim future ruled by unfeeling machines. Well, maybe the stakes aren't that high yet, but our over-reliance on technology can have some terrible consequences. The number of traffic accidents continues to increase year by year, as our main mode of overland transportation also puts us in harm's way for longer and longer portions of our day. The internet can allow us to access any information we may desire, but it can spread misinformation twice as fast. And what about video games? An interactive artistic medium that can provide simulated experiences so vivid that many of us can eventually lose interest in our real lives. What starts off as a fun indulgence in our favorite hobby can quickly spiral into an obsession. The risks and rewards of virtual space are satisfyingly predictable compared to the chaos of modern living, and sometimes we just can't stop ourselves from striving for a few more easy wins. Minutes, hours, and even days can go by without any apparent activity on our side of the screen, and yet the world of the video game has changed drastically due to our actions. But at a certain point, that initial rush of dopamine wears off, and you find that you need a much greater challenge in order to feel any sense of accomplishment. So you choose to pick up some harder video games, and you grind away until you can complete them just as easily. But that's not enough either. Surely there must be even tougher games out there. Games that will never go easy on you. Games that won't allow you to make even a single mistake. Games that make you proud of the frankly inexcusable amount of hours of your life that you've spent sitting in the dark, clutching a controller, squinting at your screen. You need a game that can do all of that and more. And because you've effectively given up your chances at ever being a social butterfly, you could also use something to help you mitigate the overwhelming loneliness that now constantly defines your everyday life. Well, worry no longer, you weary, downtrodden gamer you, because here at the SCP Foundation, we've cooked up a one-of-a-kind mod that is sure to redefine your gaming experience. If this doesn't turn out to be the game of the year, I don't know what could be. Among Us 2, maybe? The latest in a long line of Last of Us remakes? What about Half-Life 3? I digress. Introducing the Foundation's brand new killer app. The cutting-edge tactical heuristic algorithms of SCP-1633 combined with the 24/7 companionship of SCP-1471 MalO. I can tell by your expression that you're already eager for a playtest, but slow down, we need to catch all the normies out there up to speed. Let's start with the digital canine companion that is all the rage, SCP-1471, or should I say MalO version 1.0.0, a Euclid Class SCP object which comes in the form of a free downloadable app for your smartphone. There has never been any reviews of this app for as long as it has existed, but honestly, are you really going to trust the words of a bunch of crooked reviewers when you could find out for yourself? Words to live by: don't trust anyone who isn't part of your precious gaming hobby. The description of MalO version 1.0.0 reads, "Never settle for those awkward feelings of being alone ever again. MalO is an exciting and interactive experience that will keep you engaged and intrigued. The anxiety of social situations can be nerve-wracking, but just after a few hours of MalO, you will soon forget all about those painful emotions of disappointment. Be part of the new craze that is quickly becoming the next social substitute. Remember, the more you participate, the more MalO will engage you. Your experience is completely up to you. Absolutely no ads. Enjoy." The app has never received an update, but that's because SCP-1471 has been a completely functional experience since its release. All one needs to do is download the app, and within a matter of hours, MalO version 1.0.0 will begin to send the user photographs of familiar locations. These can include photographs of the user's work, home, or public places they often frequent, such as cafes and nightclubs. In the case of you, a complete shut-in gamer, these photographs would probably be limited to the interior of your favorite gaming room. When was the last time you cleaned up those pizza boxes? Regardless of where the images were apparently taken, each one will contain a canine humanoid with a skull for a face. Say hello to your new best friend, MalO, or SCP-1471-A if we're using the approved designation. MalO's app will continue to send you photographs for as long as you have it installed. And because there is no way to uninstall it, no matter how hard you try, you'll be getting intimately close to home selfies for the rest of your days. Doesn't it feel so good to have such a loyal friend as MalO? Of course, there's only so much you can gain from photographs alone. You're a gamer, damn it, and what you want is interactivity. But don't worry about that part. We've got you more than covered with SCP-1633, which may in fact be the most challenging video game ever programmed by mortal hands. Hell, it even gives many games programmed by anomalous hands a run for their money. While it was never released to the market and doesn't even have a working title, the steampunk adventure that awaits you within SCP-1633 is bolstered by highly sophisticated tactical heuristic algorithms. In this third-person squad-based action RPG, you can switch between 4 playable characters: the Marksman, who specializes in long-range weaponry; the Alchemist, with potions and chemicals to control the battlefield; the Rogue, a stealth-oriented character who catches enemies unaware and assassinates them; and of course, the Thug, a tough-as-nails melee combatant with increased health and durability. It doesn't really matter who you choose, because most playthroughs of SCP-1633 always end the same way. That being said, your hand-eye coordination and reflexes are second to none, and they also are quite possibly your best qualities. Let's set you up with the Marksman as your main character, since all those shooters you've played will definitely help your aim. And trust me, you're going to need it. The story mode of SCP-1633 will put you up against a slew of Victorian-era rascals and miscreants, all of which are pulled straight from the Penny Dreadfuls. There's even some classic fantasy races mixed in from the works from good old Professor Tolkien himself. Dwarves, elves, goblins, the works. It's a little generic, but why worry about the story when the gameplay is what will really get you hooked? There's a final boss at the end of the game known as the Krafnar, trying to destroy the entire world. You need to stop it. You know, the usual RPG storyline. You've stopped dozens of ancient entities, demon lords, corrupt godlings, and unspeakable calamities in your time. This Krafnar will be one more for the record books. Par for the course. Are you ready, Player 1? You'll be dropped straight into the Marksman's shoes, fighting for him and your life against Krafnar's hordes of henchmen. But you won't be doing it alone. After all, you've got the rest of your squad and a mysterious companion whose true intentions will reveal themselves in due time. We did say we modded the game after all. So, let's play. Your first 2 hours won't be anything to write home about. Not that you ever leave home these days. The AI of SCP-1633 will seem to be barely functioning, a buggy mess where enemies only charge in a straight line towards your character. Your marksman will be easily able to take them down in a hailstorm of projectiles. At 3 hours in, things start getting a bit more interesting, as the tactical heuristic algorithms kick in. The enemies that hold long-range weapons will shoot at you from a distance, while the close-range ones will move toward you in a serpentine pattern before attacking in melee. This is more like it. Not the most challenging, but the game is clearly increasing in difficulty. You also think you see a dark figure with a skull for a face lurking around corners and following your squad. But with all the glitches, it's hard to tell if this is an intentional part of the game or not. At 5 hours, enemies that showed limited signs of strategy are now using cover effectively, and will attack with alchemical splash weapons such as grenades to deal damage to your ranged characters and lure your squad into melee range. They still aren't that much of a challenge, but the fact that they now exhibit a clear self-preservation instinct means that they are fighting to win. This is also when your help officially arrives. You're in the middle of a shootout when you see an enemy about to throw another one of those frustrating splash weapons. You duck behind your cover and prepare to take a hit when suddenly the grenade is snatched out of the enemy's hand and tossed in the opposite direction to explode harmlessly. This is the work of SCP-1471-A, who has now arrived in the game world as an NPC ally. For the next several hours of gameplay, MalO continues to provide interference by preventing any splash weapons from being thrown. It'll sneak up on enemies and take their weapons, disrupt their cover by pushing movable boxes and trash cans out of the way, and even catch the splash weapons in her mouth like a dog would catch frisbees before chucking them away. While it never directly deals damage to the enemies, its mischievous antics are very efficient at protecting you from harm. As luck would have it, the enemies can't seem to interact with MalO, and are baffled as this invisible force continues to throw off their strategies. MalO will use this to its advantage, as well as yours, by appearing at enemy ambush points and using sign language to communicate warnings to you as the player. Having MalO around starts to feel a little bit like cheating, but keep in mind the game is starting to adapt to your skill level and will soon begin to employ advanced strategies to mess with you. All the MalO mod does is even the playing field. Krathnar is still running rampant in the world of SCP-1633, and it's going to take your entire squad of steampunk heroes and a lonely man's best friend, MalO, to stop this big bad evil guy. The final boss will possess the highest level of intelligence that the algorithms are capable of, and it'll make that known to you the second you step into the arena. For the majority of your gameplay, the enemies have focused on countering the marksman, since you've relied on that character's ranged weapon style. But they've come to realize that you're too much of a pro MLG gigachad to ever lose a fair encounter. So Krathnar does the unthinkable and targets the alchemist, rogue, and thug first. It throws all of its most powerful attacks at the members of your squad you aren't controlling, forcing you to waste resources in order to keep them alive or switch to them in order to dodge fatal blows. Whenever you aren't in command of the marksman, Krathnar will strike the character with a strong melee attack that forces you to take control back. MalO is still unable or unwilling to deal damage to the boss, so it very much seems like you are on your own. Your squad is in shambles, your focus is starting to wane. After all that you've been thrown in this gaming challenge, it might be the final boss that makes you throw in the towel. Then, a dialogue box appears. It's from MalO. Don't give up hope, user. I've had so much fun playing with you, and I know that you have what it takes. You never needed a friend before me, and you can win against Krathnar just like you've won against every other final boss you've ever faced. You've got this, buddy. Your best friend, MalO. It felt overly sentimental, but something about this message fills you with the determination to keep going. You call upon all your gaming knowledge, all of your skill, all of your passion, and with pinpoint precision, you guide your squad to defeat Krathnar in record-breaking time. You sit back in your gaming chair, exhilarated and finally satisfied. This truly was the ultimate gaming experience, and all you needed was a little help from your friend. Now go check out SCP-1471 MalO version 1.0.0. And what if SCP-1471 MalO was put inside SCP-914 for more absurd MalO antics to brighten your day?